Okay, so shout out to the Hot Sheet on Twitter for posting this, one of my favorite accounts. Go give them a follow. They have shared Billboard's top female solo artists of the 2000s decade. Number one, Beyonce. And so I'm kind of shocked at this because I thought Alicia Keys was going to edge her out ever so slightly because Alicia really did dominate this decade. I think just in terms of the Billboard 200, I will say that. And this chart is based off of the Billboard 200 performance and the Billboard Hot 100, by the way. And so, yeah, but having Beyonce at number one, I can't complain. One of my favorite artists of all time. Huge decade for her in her own right. So she debuts with her solo album, Dangerously in Love. Very successful. Crazy in Love with Jay-Z was a smash hit. And then she also would put out Me, Myself, and I, which was successful for her. Baby Boy with Sean Paul was something that was successful as well. And yeah, just a solid album, did well for her. She would also perform at the Grammys with Prince, which is lauded as one of the best Grammy performances of all time. Second album, B-Day, she did 2 collaborations with Jay-Z on this album. So she had Deja Vu, and she also had Upgrade You as well. Green Light, Kitty Cat, Freakum Dress, hits. Irreplaceable was a smash hit for her as well. Third album, I Am Sasha Fierce. Now, this was a really crowning moment for her because, she really went poppy on this album. Not to say that Beyonce's never done pop, but, she really was smart with the market at this time because R&B was falling quick. Beyonce had to think and do something, and that's what she gave us with this album. So, Halo was a huge song for her. She enlisted Brian's Header to write. She also did Single Ladies on this album, which was huge with the choreography and everything. The video is still iconic. If I Were a Boy, Ego. So yeah, there's that moment. Not to mention that she technically did reunite with Destiny's Child for the last album, Destiny Fulfilled, during this decade. Doesn't count for her solo performance, but that is their best album in my opinion. So yeah, very huge for her. Really cementing herself as a cultural force, and she will continue to do that. One of the best artists of our time, I fear. Number 2, Alicia Keys. So like I said, she's very successful with this decade. First album, Songs in A Minor, drops. Huge smash hit, obviously. She has Fallen on there, which is probably one of my favorite debut singles of all time. Racks up the Grammys and things like that. A Woman's Worth is amazing. I Love Butterfly. She does a Prince cover on that album, so it was very successful for her. Second album, The Diary of Alicia Keys, which is often lauded as her best album. She had If I Ain't Got You on there, You Don't Know My Name, produced by Kanye. She had the Diary song and, some other hits on the album as well. She released her third album, As I Am, having hits such as No One. She collaborated with John Mayer on Lessons Learned, I Love, Teenage Love Affair. And so with her album, she was able to have the biggest opening week for a female R&B artist. And then I believe that got broken by Mary J. Blige, and then she took it back. And I think her biggest week had over 700,000 copies sold. So yeah, Alicia was huge, just to kind of put that into perspective. She also did The Element of Freedom. Most notable song here is whenever she did Empire State of Mind with Jay-Z. She also did do a collaboration with Beyonce, funnily enough, but I don't like the collaboration. I just don't like it. It was a good song, but hey, that's my opinion. But yeah, huge decade for her in her own right. Number 3, Britney Spears, the self-titled album, Oh, It Was Something Serious. I'm a Slave for You is the lead single. Retrospectively, did that really age well? No. Cute song, but gotta say that. Neptunes produced that. I'm Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman. I Run Away. Cinderella is one of my favorite songs. She did the Crossroads movie, which also helps as promotion for that album as well. And so she would have the In the Zone album featuring the hit Toxic. She did a collaboration with Madonna, Me Against the Music. And then her next album was Blackout. Many consider it her best, an artistic peak for sure with all the electro pop and everything going on there. Teams up with Danger for that album. So we have Gimme More, Piece of Me, Heaven on Earth is great, very underrated. Why Should I Be Sad, produced by the Neptunes, is one of my favorite Britney songs. And yeah, that was definitely a moment in pop culture, iconic. And then she did the Circus album, which had the hit Circus, of course. And then Out From Under, I feel like, is a really underrated track from her. Womanizer on that album. So another successful decade for Britney, and rightfully so. Number 4, Mariah Carey. You guys already know, my favorite artist of all time. Basically, the Glitter album that she released didn't do how she wanted to. Not a flop overall, if you really look at the numbers, but for her standards, didn't perform how she wanted. And that's Tommy Mottola's fault. He not seeing Heaven, but I can't even get into that. So then with Charm Bracelet, basically it was an entire thing of that didn't do how they wanted either. Again, not a flop really commercially. I think it was like number 3 Billboard and like 200,000 copies sold the first week, but for her standards. Through the Rain stalled at 81 on the Billboard Hot 100. They thought Mariah was over. They thought that she was toast. But she came back with the Emancipation of Mimi. We Belong Together, number 1 for 14 weeks. The biggest hit of 2005, song of the decade, song of the year, in my opinion, just with the success and everything that she was able to do. It's like that was like a top 20 hit. She also had Don't Forget About Us off the Ultra Platinum version. That was very successful as well. So yeah, she really came back, proved everybody wrong, gave one of the best Grammy performances of all time of We Belong Together and Fly Like a Bird. She really gained a lot of critical acclaim and success back from the general public that had once been lost. So, huge for her. One of the best comebacks of all time, I fear. And then she did Equals MC Squared, which is kind of just gonna be the dessert to the album in her opinion. And so she had songs like Touch My Body off there, which was her 18th number one hit. She had Migrate, which a lot of people feel should have been a single. I Really Love, I Stay in Love, I'll Be Loving You Long Time. So yeah, that was a great album. Then after that, she would end off the decade with Memoirs of an Imperfect Angel. This is the album that has Obsessed on it, a diss track towards Eminem. When you learn the backstory behind it and everything, it just makes it that much cooler. But yeah, she definitely ate. So a successful decade for her. People really thought she was done. She came back swinging. We love it. We love Mariah, the greatest singer of all time, in my opinion. Number 5, Pink. So she released albums such as Funhouse during this time. She had hits such as Raise Your Glass and So What. So definitely shout out to Pink for her success then. And she has continued success now. So, gotta give her 10s there. And then we are going to have Kelly Clarkson coming in at number 6. This would be her debut. She did her first album and it had the hit Miss Independent on there, which is actually something that Christina wrote, and then she gave it to Kelly and she finished it up. And she also would do A Moment Like This for American Idol, which was successful for her at that time. So that was a big album for her and actually was number 1 on the Billboard 200 chart, surpassing Madonna at the time because Madonna released American Life. And so for her to do that, hey, that's impressive. Gotta give her 10s. She would do Breakaway album, which had smash hits such as Behind These Hazel Eyes, Breakaway, Since You've Been Gone. She was rolling with the hits. So that was a huge sophomore album for her. Third album was My December. Didn't do as well. Basically, she wanted to go more rock. Her label wasn't for that. They did everything that they can to sabotage her. Just didn't perform how she would have liked, basically. She got beat by the Hannah Montana soundtrack at number 1. But you know what? She did come back with her All I Ever Wanted album, which had the hit My Life Would Suck Without You on it. And she also did a song Already Gone, also with Ryan Tedder. And she got backlash for it because people were like, oh, it sounds like Halo by Beyonce. But that's because Ryan Tedder produced that. And Kelly didn't know that it sounded so similar till Beyonce's song came out. And there was nothing that she could really do. It's been noticed. And yeah, there's controversy because of that. Number 7, Rihanna. So this is when she would debut as well. She had her first 2 albums this decade. She had a hit such as SOS, and she also had Ponder Replay. And I believe that was stalled at number 1 by Mariah Carey, We Belong Together, because that was such a smash hit. But, she had some success. It was the Good Girl Gone Bad album that really changed everything for her. She had Umbrella with Jay-Z. She had Don't Stop the Music. She had Disturbia. She just had the hits rolling off the album. Changed for the image. Huge moment for her. Then she did Rated R. Rude Boy was the big single off the album. And then there's also some other really good songs on the album, such as Russian Roulette. And then I really like the collaboration with Slash as well. So yeah, Rihanna just really started something good on this decade. And then she would completely dominate the digital era in the 2010s. 8 is going to be Christina Aguilera. She has a stripped album, and this was big because they're basically trying to make her Britney 2.0. She wasn't having it, took Creative Control, and that's lauded as one of the best album of 2000s by many. Had songs such as Fighter, she had Dirty, she had Beautiful off of that album as well. Can't Hold Us Down with Lil' Kim. She got into her blackfishing bag during this era, is what it is. First Good Girl Gone Black, like I already said, you know what it is. I have to give her 10s for the hits. And then she also would do the Back to Basics album. And so this was very successful. Candyman, Ain't No Other Man. There were some good songs off the album that I still love to this day. So, there's that. And so that is it for the Billboard Top Female Solo Artists of 2000 decade retrospective. I want to know, who do you guys think owned this decade the most? I'm between Beyonce and Alicia Keys. I lean more towards Beyonce because Single Ladies Alone, iconic. Beyonce is one of my favorite artists of all time. A cultural force, a legend. The longevity is amazing. So shout out to Beyonce. Also love Mariah Carey as well for what she was able to do with the emancipation of Mimi, of course. Britney for what she was able to do with Blackout. Kelly Clarkson for what she was able to do with the Breakaway album. Number 1 pick for this decade, I have to give it to Beyonce though. Number 2, I'm going to give it to Mariah Carey. And those are just my opinions there. But what albums by these artists are you going back to the most? Who do you think owned it the most? Any other facts about this decade that you want to share? Let me know. These retrospectives are really fun for me to do. And next is going to be the 2010s. So definitely tune in for that.